Alright, new pack animals, which means we gotta backtrack alphabetically, and today I figured, since the American Flamingos are in the new pack, let's kill two birds with one vid, shall we? First off, we're going to be making a split exhibit to show the wide range these rose-feathered siltwalkers inhabit. On the left, Phonosopterus ruber, Latin for red flamingo, or the American flamingo, as we have it in-game, is native to the Caribbean islands, the north coast of South America, and the Yucatan Peninsula. This garish, flame-colored wader stands roughly 47 to 57 inches tall and weighs a whopping 4.9 to 6.2 pounds. Now, there's a few little side notes to get into before moving on from their home. First off, somehow, for some reason, there's also a stable population in the Galapagos Islands. I don't understand how or why just there, but that's the way it is. It's kind of like that one cousin that moved across the country to quote-unquote find themselves, or some hippie shit. And, you know, eventually you realize, oh yeah, that's right, they're out, like, in the middle of bumfuck. Okay, maybe it was me. Fight me. The second point of contention is where I may have gone. And that is the argument if there are any permanent flocks in southern Florida. Now, there are definitely migratory flocks that travel there for breeding, but despite the insistent claims of Florida Man, it's still debatable if they have a stable all year round population. Hey, I need to jump in, because I didn't make the exhibit until after the bundle came out, obviously. The map in-game also says that American flamingos can be found in Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, Louisiana, northern Mexico, and even locations in the Carolinas and Maryland? I don't know where they're getting this information, because there is not a single flamingo species that can be found in any of those locations. Back to the rest of the video, I guess. Now, moving over to the right, the greater flamingo, or as the nerds call it, Phonosopterus ruseus, which is just rosy flamingo. I know, very creative with their names. So, as the name implies, it is the largest flamingo, standing at 43 to 56 inches tall and weighing 4.4 to 8.8 pounds. As for its territory, it's a fucking mess. But let's see if I can't list this easily, shall we? First off, the Western Mediterranean, from Morocco to Italy. We're going to jump over to Anatolia. And then, of course, the coasts of the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf. And specifically the Kazakh and the Azerbaijani coasts of the Caspian Sea. The coast from Iran into the entire nation of India south of the Himalaya Mountains. Sri Lanka, East Africa with the exception of the Horn, aka Somalia and parts of Ethiopia. The entire coast of Africa south of the Congolese jungle. And finally, the western coast of sub-Saharan Africa. God, what a fucking nightmare. And, sorry, I'm back again, because I decided to just look at the greater flamingo as well, just in case. And it's saying that they can be found all the way up in the Caucasus, in that part of the Horn of Africa. I said that you can't find them. Southern Madagascar, Germany, which, I mean, I guess I do know that there's a breeding group that's that far up, but it's a bit of a stretch. I don't know where Frontier's getting a lot of this information, because, and also I just noticed northern West Africa along the Sahara coast, no. I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to look at all these maps every time I make an exhibit, don't I? Oh, Jesus. And before my mind fries, let's just get into their history. And like with most birds, these goofy-looking whale storks have no good info. But here's what we've got. First, what do you think the closest relative to flamingos are? No! Not a stork, or crane, or heron, or any other wading bird you may think of. It's actually something called the grube, which is a freshwater diving bird. I haven't heard of it either until now, but apparently that's the closest relative, and the two, apparently, and from what we could tell, the two split roughly 30 million years ago. And this proto-mingo, known as Pelilodidae, was literally a stork in everything but name. Appearance, most likely the way it acted, one for one. And to add insult to historical injury, they were thought to have been a global reaching species before evolving into what we now know as flamingos. So now we have no fucking idea if they were convergently evolved in a different flamingo species, or if there was some progenitor flamingo that eventually branched off. There's no kidding, Prim. Well, the oldest fossil that we do know is of a flamingo is literally just a set of footprints. They were found in the Andes Mountain and dated back roughly 7 million years ago. Now, jumping out of the history and getting into culture, there's plenty. And starting from the top, in ancient Egypt, they were seen as representatives of the sun god Ra, and for that were somewhat protected. Not quite like cats, but they had their degree of sanctity. On the other hand, Rome thought that they were delicious and were an exotic delicacy, and also kept as pets for the elite. In addition, there is a possibility that they were the representation of Hamsa, a poorly defined aquatic bird in Hinduism. And if we head back to America, the Aztecs saw the American flamingo. The Aztecs saw the American flamingo as something heavily associated with things like love and passion, and that seems to actually be something pretty universal, as well as its symbolism for balance and elegance. And, of course, if we're talking about flamingos and culture, there's no way we can't bring up those tacky lawn ornaments that were the lamest decoration to ever have been invented and are only interesting in the SCP Foundation and nowhere else. Now, before we end this video, there's one thing I want to bring up, and, we all know the basic flamingo fun facts. Their beaks are shaped like that so that they can dip their head underwater to filter feed, and they're pink because the krill and other small invertebrates they eat sort of dye their feathers. And of course, the standing up on one leg so they can preserve body heat, yada yada yada. However, there's something I want to bring up that I find fascinating. And that is the fact that they are extremely tolerant against alkaline. Now, we all have a concept of acidity, whether it be something as basic as lemon juice, stomach acids, or, on the extreme end, battery acid. But that is only one side of the pH level coin. Prim, if you would be so kind as to throw up the pH chart. Thank you very much. Now, if you take a look, dead center in this chart, you will find clean, potable, fresh water at 7. As the pH level goes down, the liquids become more acidic until you reach the dreaded battery acid. We all know the dangers of battery acid, but going up in pH is just as dangerous. As you can tell, on that end result, on the alkaline side, is bleach. This chart is important because flamingos have been known to regularly, and I mean migratory year after year, feed in things known as soda lakes. Now, as much as I would love for it to be a giant body of Fanta, that is not the case. These are bodies of water that are very high in pH. Now, granted, when you're talking about natural occurrences, very high isn't near bleach. But for a representation of these soda lakes, in the nation of Kenya, Lake Nakuru has a standard pH level of 10.5. That is in between where we would see milk of magnesium, which is used for, a diuretic, and ammonia solutions. Now, it's not pure ammonia, but it would be industrial cleaners, things that you probably would never want to get on your skin because it would absolutely cause burns. So touching these ponds and lakes that are this basic or alkaline filled would cause burns to direct touch by us. And if you were to drink said water, it would cause serious damage and a fast trip to the local ER. But flamingos? That's just another day at the pool. They consume food from these lakes commonly, all the time, and from what we can tell, doesn't cause any serious damage. So, keep that in mind when you hear the size of these animals and consider, they're pushovers. Look how light they are. They're birds. They gotta be light. That's how they fly. But they have strength in ways that we couldn't possibly imagine to endure. And with all that being said and done, thank you for joining me in this episode. If you liked it, please leave a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, share with a friend. And until next time, go outside, touch grass, hug your loved ones, drink nice, safe level 7 pH water, and bye-bye.